I have another spooky story for you guys. The person who submitted this to me does want to remain anonymous, but she really wanted to share her story of what she saw because she believes that she saw the Grim Reaper. Let's just get right into the story. I've never told anyone this story before, mostly because I don't know how to explain it, but it stayed with me for years, and even now, I think about it more than I should. My grandfather Richard was cruel. Not in a loud, obvious way, but more of in a cold, cutting way that slowly wore people down. He was manipulative, bitter, and spiteful. He never had anything nice to say about anyone. He would ridicule my mom for her weight, insult my dad for his job, and tell me that I was a waste of potential before I'd even graduated high school. Our family believes that his disgusting personality is what caused my grandmother to pass away at an early age. So by the time he was ready to pass away, nobody in the family wanted anything to do with him. He was alone in a small hospice facility on the edge of town, dying from cancer and liver failure. Apparently, he didn't even have any friends because the nurses said that he hadn't had any visitors since he'd been admitted. When we got a call from hospice saying he was near the end, I decided to go so that my mom and uncle wouldn't have to. Part of me just wanted to confirm that he was finally passing, and the other part of me went because I don't believe people should pass alone. The moment I stepped into his room, I regretted going. The smell hit me first. It was a mix of bleach, sickness, and something underneath that I couldn't identify. My grandfather looked small and fragile. His skin had turned yellow, and his face had sunken in. But even on his deathbed, his expression was mean. He didn't greet me. He just opened his eyes, looked me over, and said, "Still wasting your life, huh?" That was the first thing he'd said to me in over 5 years. So I almost walked out, but I didn't. I sat in the chair next to his bed and pulled out my laptop to do some work while he drifted in and out of sleep. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed something move near the foot of his bed. It wasn't a person. It wasn't a shadow from the hallway. It was much darker than that. It looked like it had shape and weight to it, even though I couldn't make out what it was. When I turned my head, it disappeared. I went back home about an hour later. That night, I had horrible dreams. In them, I was standing in the room alone, except for that dark shape watching me from the corner. I couldn't move, I couldn't speak, I just stood there, staring back. Even though that dream freaked me out, the next day, I went back to the facility because I was committed to visiting my grandfather until he finally passed. Again, the air in the room felt heavy. My grandfather was awake but silent and didn't acknowledge my presence. He kept looking past me towards the corner of the room. I looked over and I noticed the same dark figure. Even though the figure didn't move and didn't make a sound, I could tell it felt aware of me. The longer I looked at it, the worse I felt. My stomach turned, my chest tightened, and my vision got a little blurry around the edges. I was afraid that I was either going to pass out or have a panic attack. When I finally blinked, the figure was gone. Each day I visited, the figure became more clear. One day it stood at the foot of the bed, the next day it was at his side. Once I walked in and saw it leaning over him like it was whispering something. My grandfather never mentioned the figure, but I know he saw it too. He'd mutter things like, "Not yet," and I said, "Wait." His voice was hoarse, but he sounded scared. That was the only time in my life that I ever saw fear on his face. On the last day I visited, he was asleep. His breathing was shallow and the figure was leaning over him. Somehow I knew this was the end. So I walked over to his bed and said, "Goodbye, Grandpa," and left. That night, the hospice nurse called to say he'd finally passed. Here's the strange thing. After he died, I never saw that figure again. It was just gone, like it had finished what it came for. Maybe it was the Grim Reaper. Maybe it was some kind of spirit that follows people like him, people who live bitter, angry lives and push everyone away. I don't know what it was. I just know I never want to see it again. So what do you guys think about what she saw? Leave your thoughts down in the comments and don't forget to like and follow for more spooky stories.